Scientists at the University of Chicago recently just published a study proving that eating more meat helps you fight cancer. More specifically, when you consume a specific fatty acid called transvasenic acid that's commonly found in beef, lamb, and dairy products, your body has a stronger ability to fight with your immune cells against tumors and cancerous growth. They also analyzed patients currently undergoing cancer treatment for lymphoma and found that patients who had higher concentrations of transvasenic acid or TVA were responding to cancer treatment more effectively. And yet, isn't it odd that we are currently living in a time where meat is evil, where meat is bad for you, apparently, where meat is terrible for the environment, and we should be eating plant-based alternatives with ingredient lists 7 miles long, or meat grown in biosynthetic chambers in a laboratory paid for by your favorite billionaires?
No. Let's play a game. You and I are playing a game in which we are not betting with money, but with our health. Would you place your bet on studies done in vitro, meaning in cells or in animals? Or would you place your health upon studies that are done in humans? More specifically, that looked at human health outcomes. Videos such as her are exactly the reason why many people think that nutrition science is all over the place. It's truly not. The misinformation comes from people that don't seem to understand how to weigh studies. Because if you were to weigh studies, it becomes pretty clear that studies done in vitro or in animals don't hold as much weight as studies done in humans. So why am I saying this? Well, let's pull up the article that she was talking about. And all you have to do was actually read the article, and you saw that they fed mice a diet rich in TVA, that's transvasenic acid, and that reduced the tumor growth potential of melanoma and colon cancer. The researchers conducted studies in cells and mouse models. So while it's interesting to look at cell and mouse data, they are certainly hypothesis generating. What we truly are really interested in, what happens to people that consume a lot of beef. So let's have a look at what research tells us about humans that consume processed and unprocessed red meat. This systematic review and meta-analysis of prospective cohort studies wanted to answer the question about whether processed and unprocessed red meat consumption can increase cancer risk. And they came to the following conclusion. Total red meat and processed meat consumption was significantly associated with greater risk for colorectal cancer, colon cancer, rectal cancer, lung cancer, and renal cell cancer. And the researcher isolated red meat, so unprocessed red meat, in the results. And as you can see displayed in the results, unprocessed red meat caused a significantly increase in a lot of cancers as well. But let's not stop here, because there's actually way more research looking at red meat consumption and cancer risk. Let's have a look at another meta-analysis of prospective cohort studies in which the researchers looked at an association between red and processed red meat intake and colorectal cancer. They included 21 prospective cohort studies, and they actually saw a dose-response relationship between red meat intake and the risk for colorectal cancer. What this basically means is that the more red meat you consume, the higher the risk for getting colorectal cancer actually gets. To put this into numbers, for every 100 grams per day of total red and processed meat that you are consuming, the risk for colorectal cancer can increase by 14%. You also get a 25% increase by colon cancer and a 31% increase in rectal cancer. In non-linear models, colorectal cancer risk appears to increase almost linearly with an increasing intake of red and processed meats up to 140 grams per day. Above this level, the risk increase is less pronounced. For those of you asking, they adjusted for actually a lot of things, such as smoking, alcohol, BMI, physical activity, age, sex, and a lot of other things, as you can see here displayed on the screen. Here's a nice little graph in which you can see the risk going up the more red and processed meat you are actually eating per day. And it also starts to plateau at roughly those 140 grams mentioned earlier. This systematic review included 10 meta-analyses about red meat consumption and colorectal cancer risk. What is truly neat about this study is that they actually separated the risk of unprocessed red meat and processed red meat. Looking through all the meta-analyses included in this review, there's an increased risk in all the meta-analyses included. You can see all the studies included in every single meta-analysis in the middle of the screen. So when we look at human health outcome data, the data is very clear. Consuming more than 100 grams of red and unprocessed red meat per day doesn't seem to be a good idea. And that's something that we have seen in multiple cohorts in a variety of different populations. And we just looked at cancer risk today. Red meat has also been associated with an increased risk for cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. What are your thoughts about this topic? Feel free to let me know in the comment section. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.